Enjoy the Silence. Yes, it's a classic Depeche Mode song, one of my favorites of all time, but it's also a gift. Also, a curse when it comes to your podcast. Today on Your Mic, we're going to go there. We're going to talk about the quiet. Not as an accident, not as dead air, but as a strategy. Silence is not the absence of sound. It is a tool. In audio, silence can do three jobs. It can create tension, it lets big ideas land, and it gives your listener's brain a second to file what they just heard. Think about the last time a podcast made you go, whoa. The host dropped a line, and then there was that tiny loaded moment where nobody talked. You weren't bored, you were leaning in. That moment is not a glitch. The moment is what the editor is doing. You know, their job. I like to call this story rhythm. It's made of three pieces: beats, breaths, and breaks. Beats are the little pauses between thoughts, the commas. If you cut every beat, you get one long wall of words where nothing stands out, and in an audio format, it sounds like garbage. Breaths are those micro gaps where the speaker inhales and the listener mentally exhales. It's almost like a dance. Inhale, that's the speaker, that's the host. Exhale, that's the listener. In this case, you. No breaths. Your show feels like it's sprinting, even when nobody is saying anything. Breaks are the intentional slowdowns before or after a big emotional moment. That pause before the confession, that quiet after the joke, when the laugh dies down but the smile stays. If every second is jammed with talking, nothing feels important. Silence is the underline, and you, as the editor, who might also be the host, decide what gets underlined. Let's take two examples, okay? First, a leaf blower, because if you record your podcast in a home office or home studio, there's a solid chance you're listening to this and you're like, yeah, I've had leaf blower moments before. So this is one example, all right? Let's do this. Oh, wait, there's a leaf blower. Hold on while it passes. Now, listening to that little moment of silence, you're not thinking about the topic. You're thinking, why am I here? Why am I listening to yard work? And that is what I call bad silence. It's what breaks the story rhythm. It reminds you that I'm just some guy in a room, and it puts all the focus on the environment instead of the actual contents of the podcast. Bad silence usually comes from three things. It could be technical or environmental, like leaf blowers, sirens, barking dogs, Slack pings. 2, me forgetting where I was going. 3, a guest spiraling and saying nothing for a long, long time. Now, let's take a second fictional example. I'm going to be the interviewer here, okay? At what point did you feel like you're the villain in your business's story? We'll take a few seconds. 2, 3, 4. You can feel that question hanging in the air, right? It's uncomfortable, but in a good way. You're waiting for the answer, and then the guest will come in with something like, well, 2, 3. It had to be during year 1 when I refused to seek out a loan or funding, and I mortgaged my family's home. You see, that silence is not about any leaf blower. It's about the stakes. And that is what we call good silence. And by the way, I must reiterate, that is actually a fictitious example. I've never mortgaged my family's home. Just had to do that, okay? Full disclosure. Anyways, so here's the rule. If the silence serves the story, it's good. And if the silence serves my distractions, my confusion, or my laziness, bad. Very bad. And bad silence never deserves to live in your episode. Let's zoom in on story rhythm for a second. When you're listening back to an interview, I want you to ask 3 questions. 1, where are my beats? These are, the quick little pauses between sentences. Not big gaps, just enough space so the listener can separate idea A from idea B. 2, where are my breaths? Can I actually hear people inhale sometimes? Not every single time, but enough that it feels like human. And we all need more humanity in the world of AI. If you strip out every single breath, every sigh, every little release of air, your show starts to sound like a text-to-speech generator with nice microphones. 3, where are the breaks? Where do I want people to lean in? Where do I want them to feel the weight of what was just said? Those are the moments where you protect silence instead of deleting it. Here's a simple way for you to think about it. Beats keep your episode understandable. Breaths keep it human. Breaks make it powerful. And guess what? You don't need a plugin for that. All you need is to listen with intention. Let's land this plane with a few simple rules you can steal. Rule number 1, if the silence is about your tech, your room, or your confusion, cut it out. Leaf blowers, long moments, the 30 seconds where you're scrolling for the next question, your listener does not need to babysit that. Rule number 2, if the silence is about emotion or meaning, you definitely want to keep it. The pause after a heavy confession, the breath before a big reveal, the tiny beat that lets a punchline land, that's where your show feels honest. Rule 3, after you cut, listen back. Do I still hear beats, breaths, and breaks? If everything is one long, smooth, frictionless sentence, you probably cut too much. If you hear big, saggy gaps where nothing's happening, you didn't cut far enough. Silence makes your listener lean in. That is strategy. Silence that makes them check their phone is garbage. Now, homework. You like homework. I know you do. Take one segment from your next episode. Listen through once and mark every moment of silence that feels awkward, distracting, or like you forgot what planet you're on. By the way, we're on Earth. Those are candidates for the cutting room floor. Then, listen again and mark the moments that feel heavy. The ones where you hold your breath while you're listening. Those are the good silences. Protect them at all costs. I promise they are so powerful. If anything, give them one extra beat. Remember, quiet is not a bug in your timeline. Quiet is a part of your storytelling. Use it on purpose, and your listeners are going to feel the difference, even if they can't explain why. It's that je ne sais quoi. My name is Freddy, and this is your mic. Remember, bad audio happens to good hosts, but bad silence, well, that part is optional. It's always optional.